The Los Angeles Clippers have been one of the best teams in the NBA over the past couple of seasons. But what's honestly been holding them back is the numerous amount of shortcomings that they have, from losing a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets in the bubble, to having Kawhi miss multiple playoff runs. Things just haven't been looking right for the Clippers, at least when it comes to the postseason. And this postseason is yet another one to add to the list. And I hate to say it, but I'm still a fan of the Los Angeles Clippers and the moves that they did in the offseason. And I honestly think that they could be maybe one of the best teams in the West. But before I get into that, I ask that y'all go down and subscribe. It doesn't take too much and I'd really appreciate it. I've been seeing the growth lately and I want to continue that. But let's get into the video. So, as we all know, there's teams in the West that made a bunch of moves, such as Houston. The Mavs made a couple of moves, and the Clippers is right behind them. I mean, you got Bradley Beal on the buyout. You got Brook Lopez from the Milwaukee Bucks. You traded Norman Powell for John Collins. And this Clippers team is still one of the best teams in the West, if I'm being honest. Now, there's a numerous amount of factors that go into the Clippers honestly competing for a championship this season. It's the West, so you're going to have to climb tooth and nail if they want to compete. But let me just go over a gist of what they got and added to the team so far in the offseason. So first off, I want to say the biggest move they added was getting John Collins from the Utah Jazz. Now, as we all know, John Collins is a high lob threat. He can shoot the three pretty decently, but honestly, I think he was a great pickup for the Clippers. He averaged 19 a game on the season, shot almost 40% from 3 on 4 attempts, which is a pretty small amount, but James Harden just having another lob threat other than Zubac adds a pretty good dynamic, and then not to mention John Collins also has the ability to stretch the floor. Now, what I see John Collins doing this season is kind of going back to the production that he did with Trae Young on the Hawks back in around 2020-2021. His best season with Trae Young, he averaged around 22 a game. I think he averaged a double-double. He had double-digit rebounds. But John Collins is that kind of player for you. I kind of see him being like a more, I'd say, aggressive Aaron Gordon on the offensive end, because he does have some games where he could just take it off the dribble because he has that aspect to his game. Aaron Gordon has that aspect to his game, but that's kind of what the Clippers need. They need a guy like Aaron Gordon, basically, just to do it all forward, that could catch a lob and could take over some games for you when you need him to. The next guy I want to go into is Brook Lopez. Now, Brook Lopez over the past few seasons has kind of regressed from his version that we've seen in around 2019 with the Milwaukee Bucks, but he's still a very solid big. And now we're going to see him back up Ivica Zubac. And I think it's nice that the Clippers finally have a center that can spread the floor, because Zubac, even though he's a great player, I feel like they need that stretch presence from a big man, and the Clippers haven't really had that. I mean, the last time I can remember they had that was Patrick Patterson, but he came off the bench. He started a couple games, I believe, but he wasn't really featured that much in the offense. But having a guy like Brook Lopez come off the bench for, your Ivica Zubac, that adds a pretty good dynamic with the bench play. And then not to mention Bradley Beal. And honestly, Bradley Beal is the biggest wild card for the Clippers. He averaged 17 a game this season, and I think they could either start him or he could come off the bench. It really doesn't matter. But you basically got your Norman Powell replacement for chump change. And that's what really makes the Clippers dangerous, because last season they didn't play without Kawhi for basically a majority of the season, and Norman Powell had an all-star caliber year. And to basically get a guy that's on par with Norman Powell, because I still believe Bradley Beal is a pretty competent player, he was just getting overpaid, but having a guy that can average probably he could average 20 a game on any given night on a vet minimum, I mean, that's great production. Now, here's the things that the Clippers would need to go right in order for them to honestly compete this season. Because I already know they're probably going to be, top 5 seed maybe in the West. I wouldn't be surprised. But there's 3 things that they need to have go right for them this season.
The reason I'm not sold on the Clippers is because I'm just looking at my watch, and I'm just looking at the dates and the calendar, and I'm just waiting for Kawhi Leonard to get hurt. That's all. I know that come playoff time, he's not going to be available. This is a man that went into a playoff series against the Phoenix Suns, dropped 38, walked off the court, looked perfectly fine. And then 4 o'clock the next day, be like, hey, he's out for the year. What? What happened?
First of all, I mean, it's pretty apparent Kawhi's health. Now, Kawhi, he wasn't really healthy last season. He only played about a third of the season. He averaged 22 a game. I do see his scoring go up if he does play the majority of this season. I see his efficiency staying the same. He's always been a very efficient player, especially with the Clippers. And, this playoff run, it really showed me that he's able to be durable, perhaps, in a playoff run, because he did play the full 7-game series in round 1 against the Nuggets. Now, he did slow down towards the end of the series, but I'd say that's due to fatigue, simply because he wasn't used to playoff basketball for that long period of time. But if Kawhi could generally stay healthy for, let's say, 65, 70 games, I feel like that would help the Clippers, especially in seeding, because if they had Kawhi for the majority of the season last season, who knows, we probably could have seen them maybe be a 3rd or 2nd seed. Without him, they were still a top 5 seed, so who knows. The second thing I just need the Clippers to do if they want to be a competitive team is have another good defensive year. Now, they were one of the best defensive teams, especially to end off the season. And they added a lot of offense, but, some of those additions are pretty questionable defensively. Brook Lopez, is he still able to be serviceable as a backup? John Collins, I haven't really watched too much of him in Utah, but I think he's a pretty alright defender. Sometimes he's pretty lax. You still have great defenders. Kawhi, he's not the defender he used to be, but he's still pretty serviceable. Chris Dunn off the bench. You still have Derrick Jones Jr., Bojan Bogdanovic. He maybe be able to provide something. Who knows? They might lean into some of their second-year guys like Jordan Miller or Cam Christie, perhaps. Who knows? But having another good defensive year for the Clippers will especially help them, compete.
Because he attempted 8 shots. 8 shots. With him on the court, the Clippers were outscored by 29. Oh, by the way, he's lost 4 of his last 5 playoff series. Oh, by the way, in his last 4 Game 7s combined, his record is 1-3. He's averaged 13.8 points. He shot 27% from the field. He has shot 17% from 3-point range. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a choke job.
And the last thing, and this is probably the most important thing, James Harden. Now, James Harden in the regular season, he's going to do his thing. I see him still being a 20-11 guy, maybe even 20-12, probably leading the league in assists again. But can he have a decent playoff run? And that's the thing. We don't know. In round 1 last year, he played pretty all right for the majority of the series. Game 7, he craps the bed. And that's kind of the story with James Harden over these last couple of seasons. And it's kind of surprising because back in Houston, he had his playoff failures, but they weren't that bad to this magnitude that we've been seeing over the past couple of years. I don't know what happened. Once he messed up his hamstring in Brooklyn, things just went south when it came to playoff runs. But if he could just have a serviceable playoff run, and hopefully they get lucky with the seeding, and hopefully they get lucky with the matchups, in some weird scenario world, I can see the Clippers honestly competing for a championship this season. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me. They're frauds again, fraudulent, whatever. But they're still one of the best teams and one of the deepest teams in the West right now that I see. And I can't glance past that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you think the Clippers can compete, if you think they'll even make the playoffs this season, who knows? That's just my opinion. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time.